The best part about having to drive to my wife's office party was that I got a chance to drive my Challenger at full throttle. The worst part was that the faster I went, the faster I got. The party was at the company cabin, and there was a nice 20-mile stretch of road leading up to it. No stop signs, no traffic lights, no traffic jams, just an open road waiting for the Dodge to do its thing. It also meant no gas stations or stores. Donna and I had grown distant from each other since our daughters got married. I had hoped for the opposite, but it wasn't to be. Donna insisted that I accompany her to the event, even though I stated that I did not want to go. She used to go alone. Donna was a drinker, and I was not. Admittedly, I drank beer occasionally. She was also a social butterfly, and I was not. For the last year, I suspected she was having an affair. At this point, I didn't really care. I think that was one of the reasons we were drifting apart. I wasn't in a rush, just looking for a way out of an unpleasant relationship. I needed a way to end the affair. I have to admit that I was probably the reason my wife decided to seek more favorable circumstances. I'm an odd kind of minimalist, so to speak. I grew up in a very poor family. My brothers and I had much less than most kids our age. By that I mean things like bicycles, toys, pets, fancy electronic gadgets, and the like. It was almost like the Amish without religion. I wasn't stupid, and I was well aware of how the normal world worked, but I couldn't bring myself to accept it. I knew it was important to stay out of debt. It's important to pay your bills, and it's important to set aside something wisely for retirement. You don't have to be a fanatic to live a comfortable life as a minimalist, but you do have to keep yourself in check. Allowing yourself a few indulgences can help you appear normal to most people. My biggest indulgence was my marriage and family. I had a very hard time finding a woman who I thought could tolerate my eccentricities and accept my uniqueness. Donna came from the same family as me and was used to living a frugal lifestyle. She didn't embrace it the way I did, but she could tolerate it. The longer we were married, the more she seemed to become normal. By that I mean she became less frugal and more conventional. I didn't like it, but I understood, especially after the girls were born. To avoid seeming weird, we bought a small practical house and started wearing better quality clothes. Donna did my hair from time to time and became quite adept at grooming and makeup. We bought 2 smartphones, last year's models. As the girls grew older, Donna started working. It was a minimum wage office job. Transportation was a necessity, so we bought her a small Honda Civic like mine. Her paycheck almost covered the cost of the car, lunches, and a new closet. It wasn't very profitable, but I was satisfied. My name is William Smith. It's the most common name a person could have. I work as a parts remover for a local company that makes industrial compressors. It's a very routine job, but I like it. I was happy with the position and the pay. At times I've been offered a promotion, but I've turned it down. I didn't tell Donna about it, the second perk I kept from my wife. I thought it was wise to save for retirement. Every chance I got, I bought an ounce of Krugerrand. I had over 30 of them in my basement safe, and I was just getting started. My last indulgence was a 1970 Dodge Challenger. My older brother John died working on an offshore oil rig. He left me the Challenger in his will. I was able to maintain it on my own, but the insurance premiums were killing me. Donna had a good job at Gilbert Industrial. She was promoted and promoted regularly. The first year she talked about her job quite a bit, but then it went downhill. Now she rarely mentions her job or the people she works with at all. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I was hoping to get a better idea of what was going on tonight. The company meeting was something like a retreat. It was a weekend event. I felt out of place even though I had to go there. I had met all of her employees at one time or another, and I didn't like any of them. We pulled onto the highway in Holbrook, and I was finally able to let the Challenger go. She reacted just as I had anticipated. Donna wasn't thrilled about the speed, but she kept her mouth shut. Yes, I was indeed speeding. No, I didn't care. "Bill, what's the rush? We have plenty of time to get there. Why don't you slow down?" "I can't wait to get there. You know very well I didn't want to go there at all. I'm just using this time to clean the engine. It needs to run from time to time." "Please try not to be pampered. This weekend is important to my career. Mrs. Simpson said you need to be here too." Marge Simpson was the wife of company president Glenn Robertson Simpson. It was old money and old business. Why? What do you mean? why it's so important for me to attend this company event. I don't understand. Bill, it is imperative that you fully understand my new position in the company so that you can give me the support and assistance I need to do my job. I still don't understand. I'm sure Mrs. Simpson will be able to explain it all to you when we get there. I have always supported you in the past. Why is it different now? My new position comes with a lot of unique responsibilities. Marge said you should be introduced to them gradually so you can fully understand them. It might be difficult for you to understand at first, but she assured me that you'll come around. By the time we reached the lodge, my adrenaline was at an all-time high. It didn't take a genius to figure out what Donna was trying to say. This was going to be an interesting weekend. When we arrived, Donna entered the lodge, leaving me to drop off my bags. I felt put on the spot. "Hey, nice wheels, Mr. Smith. What are they, 70 or 71? It was Toby Wallace, the company's officer boy goofer. "Hey, Toby, how's it going? This is 70. Toby introduced me to his wife, Bonnie. They were sitting on the porch, but it looked like everyone else was inside. I looked around the parking lot and figured there were about 16 cars and one old beat-up truck at the end of the lot. We spent the next 5 minutes talking about the Challenger. "What are you guys doing outside? Why aren't you and Bonnie inside with people?" "They're not our kind of people, Mr. Smith. We were hoping to leave early, but Mrs. Simpson insists we stay. We came early today to help get everything ready. All the caterers left about an hour ago." "You'll have to explain yourself. What's going on?" "Something suspicious, but I don't know what it is. I don't want to upset you, but I think it has something to do with your wife." "Are you staying the whole weekend?" "No. That's why I parked my truck at the curb so I wouldn't have to worry about having to get out later." Things were getting more interesting by the minute. "Well, I'd better get my stuff to our room. Let me know before you leave, okay?" "Sure, Mr. Smith, be careful. Don't do anything stupid." Luckily, it was only 2 small bags. When I entered the cabin, Mrs. Simpson caught my eye, smiled, and waved. Donna was waiting for me at the top of the stairs and looked a little concerned that it was taking me so long to get in. "It's about time, Bill. We have a few hours to get ready for tonight. Get yourself cleaned up and wear something presentable. It's going to be a special evening, and I want everything to be perfect." "If you don't mind, I'm going to take a little walk around the grounds to unwind. I'll be back in plenty of time." As I left the room, I noticed a slight smirk appear on my face. It was a little chilly, which made my walk more enjoyable. As I suspected, there were indeed 16 cars here. They were mostly Mercedes, a few Jaguars and Lexuses. 4 cars had license plates from other states. I was a little puzzled, trying to figure out how a woman in my wife's position could claim to be among people of this caliber. She, or should I say we, were definitely out of place. Something was not right. I noticed Toby and Bonnie loading things into the truck. I waved at them and walked over to chat for a bit. "I see that Mrs. Simpson has decided to let you go." "Not really, we're kind of sneaking out." "I don't feel comfortable here, Mr. Smith. Toby thought we should stay, but I talked him out of it." Bonnie hastened to add, "Would you do me a small favor and stay here until after the evening buffet? I'm a little worried too, and I'd appreciate it. I have no idea what's going on, but I don't like it." "Great minds think alike, don't they, Bonnie?" She blushed slightly at my feeble attempt at a joke. "I think we might. There were crabs and oysters on that serving line. I think I was supposed to like Toby. I did get dressed, as my wife insisted. No sooner had we approached the buffet than the hostess took my hand and led me into a quiet alcove. "We're so glad you decided to come tonight to support Donna. This is a big step in her career, and it's very important that you support her fully. The pay raise and benefits are very substantial, and I'm sure you'll be pleased." "No, pardon me for asking, but what position are we talking about?" Donna was a little evasive. When I ask her about it, she usually just waves me off and tells me to wait until tonight. "No need to worry, William. I think she just wants to surprise you." "You didn't answer my question." "There is no official title. I guess you could just say she's a personal assistant." "I see. Well, the buffet looks good. Thanks for the explanation, Mrs. Simpson." "Marge, please call me Marge." I spent the next hour or so trying everything. Donna was busy socializing with important people, so Toby, Bonnie, and I were able to spend a little more time together. We were just finishing up our work when Mrs. Simpson came up to us. "William, Donna said you brought your sports car with you tonight. I was wondering if you'd mind doing a little drink run for us." I smiled and nodded my head. "There are 3 cases of wine at the ABC store in Holbrook. They're already paid for, so all you have to do is drive over and pick them up. There shouldn't be any problems, but if there are, just give me a call. Don't forget to bring your cell phone with you." "I'll be glad to, Marge. I'll let Donna know and hit the road." As she walked away, I glanced at Toby. "Meet me outside in 5 minutes." Donna only smiled when I informed her that Mrs. Simpson had asked me to help. Her only comment was, "Don't forget your cell phone." Interestingly, they both empathized with the same thing. "Toby, I need a favor." He smiled as I handed him the keys to the Challenger. "Are you serious? Go down to Holbrook and pick up 3 cases of wine at the ABC store for Mrs. Simpson. I have a feeling there might be some problem that will cause a delay, if you know what I mean." Toby smiled and nodded. "Here's my cell phone. Just put it on the dashboard. If it rings, don't answer it. Whatever you do, don't turn it off. Any questions?" "How long are we supposed to be gone?" "At least 2 hours and fill up on gas before heading back to the lodge. Enjoy!" It was a little chilly outside, but at least I had the foresight to put on a comfortable jacket. Now all I had to do was wait and watch. From various spots on the back porch, you could see almost the entire inside of the cabin. A thermos of coffee would have been handy, but I hadn't planned that far ahead. I found a comfortable spot from where I could be seen and not noticed. Donna seemed to be the center of attention. I still didn't know why, but I could guess. She was smiling, laughing, and acting like a movie star. About 20 minutes later, Mrs. Simpson and Donna were perusing Donna's cell phone. I knew exactly what they were doing, checking my location. Thanks to Toby, I was almost into Holbrook. They both smiled as Mrs. Simpson raised her hand and spoke. Unfortunately, I couldn't make out exactly what was said, but everyone in the room seemed to quietly approve of what they heard. It was like soft applause. Glenn Robertson Simpson walked over and took Donna's hand. They started up the main staircase and stopped. He raised his and her hands up as in a victory salute, and they both laughed. I could hear cheers of approval echoing through the hall as they climbed the stairs. It was still about an hour and a half before the Challenger returned. I decided to take my time and enjoy my vacation. I always had my trusty buck penknife with me. It had been given to me by my daughters about 10 years ago. It was of good steel and held a sharp edge. I looked around my lot and decided I would start with the cars closest to the cabin. I took my time. There was nowhere to rush. I carefully placed each valve stem into my jacket pocket. I didn't want to lose any, and I didn't want to clog the Simpsons' driveway. 16 cars and 64 valve stems. I had almost an hour left. What to do? What to do? 4 of the cars were locked. The rest were unlocked, so I started again with the one closest to the lodge and pulled out the registration sheets. Some were on the visors, but most were in the glove compartments. I had no idea what I was going to do with them, but I figured they might come in handy in the future. There was still another 30-minute wait before Toby returned. I decided that the valve stems on the spare tires should be fine. Since I had access to the cars, I had access to the trunks as well. 20 minutes later, I had 10 more stems. 2 cars didn't have spare tires. I know it was petty and juvenile, but it gave me a mild satisfaction. I don't really like confrontation, so everything I did or was going to do was low and mean. I didn't have self-esteem issues, so I didn't feel the need to look manly or heroic. Let all alpha males take on that role. 20 minutes later, the Challenger returned. Toby and Bonnie seemed to be enjoying the ride. He confirmed that there was indeed a delay at the ABC store, as I had expected, and it seemed to have been pre-planned. While they were gone, there were no calls on my cell phone. I turned it off and removed the SIM card. They were anxious to get home. I thanked Toby, wished him a happy journey, and urged him to find another job as soon as possible. I'm sure the cases of wine in the truck were quite expensive. Solving that problem was easy. I simply placed all 3 crates on the porch of the cabin. There was no way I wanted them to accuse me of stealing. The trip home was uneventful. There wasn't much of importance to me in the house, a few personal papers, a laptop, and my Krugerrands. I was originally going to set the house on fire before I left, but that would have turned Donna into a martyr, and I didn't want to do that. 2 hours later, I was on my way. I didn't feel the need to leave the traditional note or wedding ring. Let her figure it out on her own. I wasn't in a hurry to get anywhere, nor did I have a destination in mind. I was traveling for 2 days. Monday morning, I called work to let them know I was leaving. I asked that my last check be sent to my parents' house in Carlisle. They were unhappy that I had quit without notice. I apologized but offered no explanation. You can always count on a good breakfast at the Waffle House. On my way out, I picked up the local newspaper, The Merchandiser, and found an interesting ad looking for staff for a local supermarket. They were looking for someone to clear merchandise off the shelves from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. After having breakfast, I took a look around the market. It was located in an eclectic, older neighborhood in Chattanooga. I spent the next hour driving around the neighborhood. There were many old cottages and a few mobile homes in the immediate neighborhood. I could have been happy in a small trailer, but I was hoping for something bigger. And then I happened to come across a sign offering a garage apartment for rent. I wasn't interested in working the market yet, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to rent a garage apartment. The garage wasn't included in the price, but when I offered $50 a month more, they agreed. It was a small one-bedroom, half-bath apartment. It was furnished with a bed, dresser, table, and chairs. The rent was reasonable and the location was convenient, so I agreed. I would solve the bathroom problem later. At least I had a home for the challenger. At the supermarket, the situation was a little different. They had a lot of applicants, but not so many that they were comfortable leaving them alone in the store at night. I explained my situation to the owner and didn't hold back. I offered to work under the table. No benefits and $1 less than they wanted to pay. They didn't even ask for my social security number. I was happy, and they were happy. It was a 10-minute walk from the apartment. I spent the rest of the day getting settled into my new home. The landlord gave me the access code to his internet, which was very nice. After a quick trip to the local Goodwill store, I had some kitchen supplies and a small microwave. I also bought some linens and cleaning supplies. That same evening, I canceled my life insurance policies. I decided not to mess with banking and credit cards. What could it hurt? Both of our daughters were now married. That made it a little easier for me to leave. No grandchildren yet, but I'm sure it won't be for a while yet. I called my daughter Laura and let her know I was okay. I asked her to be available to help her mother if needed. Laura knew I was gone, but Donna had given her no other information. She promised to let her sister Linda know. I deleted all calls from my wife and turned my phone off again. I needed to take a shower, maybe tomorrow. Not everything was perfect. I needed to find a safe place for my gold. I realized that what I had wasn't considered significant, but it was important to me. For some strange reason, I decided to buy a safe deposit box in Huntsville, Alabama. I hoped they wouldn't be able to link it to me in Chattanooga. Of course, I was sorely mistaken, but I felt like I had at least tried. The drive was almost 2 hours, but I didn't mind. The garage door at the apartment was secure enough, but I installed a new deadbolt and heavy-duty lock just to make sure. I had to protect my baby. Getting a new job didn't happen right away. I had a man working with me the first 3 nights, and then I was left alone. I didn't have to do anything in the grocery store or the meat department. I agonized the most in the frozen food department. After the first 2 weeks, I had everything under control. For a $20 down payment and $10 a month, I bought a subscription to Planet Fitness, which solved my shower problem. The big downside was that I had to give them my credit card number. I had to drive to Huntsville again to get a credit card from a new bank. I began to realize how difficult it is to go completely off the grid. Some changes would have to be made. I had no idea how hard Donna would look for me, or if she would even look for me. Well, the hell with it. I'll deal with the problem when it arises. In a short time, I had developed a routine. I would start work at 10 at night and finish at 6. It was a 20-minute run or 30-minute walk to Planet Fitness. Initially, I only went to Planet Fitness for the showers, but gradually I started using the other machines. By the end of the first month, I was working out at the gym for almost 2 hours a day. I felt better, and I also lost a little weight. I never thought of myself as overweight, but I was a little flabby. It felt good to be back to my usual lifestyle. I was comfortable in my new job and enjoyed it. It was repetitive, but different at the same time. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure you'll see what I mean. I did my job and was left alone. The gym wasn't a bad choice either. In no time at all, I determined which exercises I liked and which ones I should avoid. I discovered that working out with heavy weights was neither fun nor enjoyable for me. Since I ran to work out every day, treadmills held no interest for me. I started each day with a circuit workout at Planet Fitness. This took about 30 minutes. Then I would spend 20 minutes on the C2 rowing machine, 20 minutes on the stair stepper, and finish with 20 minutes on the upright exercise bike. I never bought a television, but I did buy a used desktop computer with a good-sized monitor. My daily entertainment consisted mostly of YouTube videos. I didn't cook much, but found that my eating habits had changed a bit. Although it wasn't part of my plan, I found myself leaning towards a keto-type diet. Combining this with an irregular work schedule, I realized I was also fasting a bit. After 3 months, I felt better and lost the weight. It was time to call my daughters again. This time I called Linda. "Hi, Linda, it's your daddy." "Well, it's about time. We've all been worried about you. Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I've always been able to take care of myself. I'm just calling to make sure your mom is okay." "Mom's doing great. She seems to have gotten a raise at work and she loves her job. However, she is very angry with you. She said you dumped her at the promotion celebration and then left the house like a hurt boy. Those were the exact words she used. She said you were jealous of her success." "Well, I'm sorry, but I can't add anything to that. Until she's ready to tell you the truth, that's all I have." "She said things are a little tight without your income. But with her raise, she'll do fine." "Well, I'm happy for her. Did she tell you anything about her new job?" "Only that she's making more money and can travel a lot." I didn't answer anything. After a short pause, Linda spoke again. "Are you coming home for Christmas?" "I don't think so. I'll try to send something for you and Laura." "We don't need or want anything, Dad. We'd rather have you here." "Sorry about that. I have to go now. Give Laura my regards. Bye." I was feeling a little depressed. I got the feeling that my daughters didn't understand the situation and thought I was the cause of all the problems. I was uncomfortable with that, but I didn't feel I owed them an explanation. It was obvious that there was no remorse on my wife's part. I felt a little bitter. From what my daughter had told me, Donna was doing just fine without me. I still didn't understand why she wanted me home. I finished my case of black and tan and spent the weekend feeling dejected. My beer consumption was on the rise. As the weeks passed, things began to improve. Things were going well at my job, and I got a raise I didn't expect. They gave me leeway on my responsibilities, and in a very short time I optimized and improved the restocking system. I provided a weekly report that was used to determine stock levels and order intervals. The store's general computer system was already doing this, but they seemed grateful for manual data entry. My accommodations were ideal for my situation and well within my budget. My weight was down and I was building muscle. In the right light, you could make out 6 pudgy toes. I had stopped shaving and now had a full head of hair, long enough to do a small ponytail. My whole image seemed to have changed, and I looked a little menacing. Working out at the gym became easier and a little longer. An unexpected side effect was that I made a few friends at the gym. They weren't really friends, but more like acquaintances. I was very wary of female gym rats because I didn't want any indecency issues. With the guys, it didn't matter. In fact, we bantered with each other on a regular basis. However, there was one very unusual alliance. Her name was Harry, or at least that's what everyone called her. She wasn't very friendly and rarely spoke to anyone. I turned out to be the exception. Every morning she was there and worked continuously for at least 2 hours. It was an intense workout, not subtle yoga. By my estimate, she was in her early 40s. She had a strong build and always wore sweatpants and a sweatshirt. All the other women flaunted their bodies in tight, latex, and skimpy outfits. But not Harry. I was getting harassed because I was the only male in the entire cage that she talked to or even looked at. I didn't encourage her, but I didn't deny her anything either. To be honest, I was a little flattered. Several months went by and I still hadn't contacted my daughters or my wife. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I made several trips to Huntsville to add to my Krugerrand collection. Then the situation began to change.
William, can I talk to you?
This was not the usual conversation starter with Harry. She called me William, while all the guys used Bill. Come to think of it, she never called me by my first name at all.
Sure, no problem. Is there anything I can help you with?
Pretty much, yeah.
We both sat down on the bench and made ourselves comfortable.
I have a corporate event on Friday night and I need an escort. I'll cover all expenses, and I just need you to come with me. I noticed that you don't drive, so I will also provide you with transportation. I can reimburse you if you need it. I hesitated and she quickly realized it.
I'm sorry, did I do or say something wrong?
No, not at all. It's just that I have a few skeletons in my closet, so to speak. If you can get around them, I'd be happy to help you.
Okay, what are the problems?
For one thing, I'm married.
Oh, damn, you never mentioned a wife.
I guess that puts things in perspective.
No, not at all. I just wanted to warn you in advance. I haven't seen or spoken to my wife in over 9 months. I don't even know if I'm still married.
Have you filed for divorce or separation?
No.
What's next?
I don't have anything appropriate to wear.
No suit, no jacket, no dress shirts, no casual shoes. All of those things I don't need, so I don't have any.
No problem. I can take care of that. That's why I'm asking for an appointment a week in advance.
I work nights, but I think I can free up an evening without a problem.
I'm glad you've solved that problem.
She smiled when she said that.
What else?
Do you want me to shave or something?
William, I like your beard and hair, but honestly, you're a little unshaven. Would you mind if I had my stylist take a look at you Friday afternoon?
A stylist? She smiled. I groaned and nodded that it was okay. Thus began my relationship with Harry, professionally known as Harriet Parker, attorney at law. On Tuesday, I found myself at Joseph A. Banks. Not exactly an upscale establishment, but a notch above any I had ever been to. Harry had arranged my visit in advance. I ended up buying 2 pairs of pants and 2 sports jackets. A few shirts and a few ties were added to them. I worked a little harder, adding 2 turtleneck shirts to the pile. I've always liked them and thought they would look good with the sport jackets. Harry had paid for everything in advance. On the way home, I bought a new pair of decent shoes and underwear. I needed the new underwear because of my recent weight loss. The shoes were moccasin style, but still stylish. On Friday, my visit to the stylist went well. The guy who took care of me was easy to get along with and did a great job. He left me with a neatly trimmed beard and turned my ponytail into a sort of short modified mullet. I don't know what it's called, but it was long in the back. He assured me it would be much easier to groom that way. I liked it. He didn't talk much about Harry, but said I was lucky. Harry showed up at the apartment at 6 o'clock in the evening. She didn't get out of the car, just honked briefly. The Lexus looked out of place in my neighborhood. I opted for a gray jacket and gray turtleneck. I thought I looked good, but I had no frame of reference. I was thankful she was driving because I didn't know my way around town.
Harry, before we go in, can you explain exactly what I should do or not do tonight?
The first hour or so we'll probably socialize. You don't have to participate. Most of the people here will turn out to be arrogant snobs you don't want anything to do with. Avoid them if you can. Mostly, I want you to stay close to me and keep all sorts of cocky people away. Try not to be obvious, but don't let any of them elbow you either. Make sure I always have a drink in my hand, ginger ale or mineral water. Be friendly and malleable, and no matter what you do, don't lose your temper. In essence, you are arm candy. Make them think we're a couple.
I never thought of myself as that type of guy. I don't have much experience with that kind of thing.
Can you handle it? You bet I am.
Oh, is there any food?
In about an hour, we'll each get a plate of $500 rubber chicken and listen to some speeches. When it's over, there'll be more handshakes. Oh, you look good, by the way. At that moment, I realized I hadn't complimented her on her dress or her hair. I was really out of my depth. The first part of the evening went exactly as she explained. I found that my role was a little easier than I had anticipated. The room was full of unmarried men.
all wearing expensive suits and carrying large watches. Harry did look good, and most of them knew she was single. Some of them took the time to come up and chat with her. They were tasting the water, so to speak. I forced myself to look at them all with squinted eyes like Charles Bronson. Surprisingly, it worked. Every time I stepped away from her to refresh her drink, another vulture swooped in. Several of them brought her drinks, which she calmly handed to me to dispose of. Harry glanced at me a couple times and sort of smiled. Finally, we sat down at the table. 300 chicken dinners appeared out of nowhere. It was a miserable plate of food. I can't be called a picky eater, but this was something else. I kept thinking about the $500. Harry leaned toward me. "William, you want to blow this place up?" She tried to use Bogart's accent, but she failed miserably. I didn't bother answering her. I just stood up, took her hand, and we left quietly. I don't think anyone even noticed. When we pulled into the parking lot, she took off her shoes and tossed me the keys to the Lexus. "Find us some real food, William." 20 minutes later, we were at Hillbilly Willie's. We each had a full rack and long necks. Tabasco was no stranger to her. We both ignored the side dish of fries. The bibs, on the other hand, were gladly accepted. As we ate, I noticed one unusual thing. Her evening gown had long sleeves. Most women's dresses had short sleeves or no sleeves at all. She was also barefoot, and it didn't seem to embarrass her in the least. Things quickly returned to normal. My evening with Harry was enjoyable, though it didn't end in intimacy. We continued our normal relationship at the gym. 3 weeks later, Harry had another event that required an escort. I, of course, agreed. I felt obliged to explain the situation to my boss, and he found it quite amusing. Under the circumstances, he told me that there was no need to ask for permission to take time off work. Just leave him a note. He told me that I was responsible for my own time and should manage it accordingly. Harry's daily workout at the gym was quite intense. She monitored her heart rate and sweated a lot. She was always fully clothed. Most female athletes wore sports bras and shorts. Harry wore sweatshirts and long pants. It seemed pointless, but I wasn't going to bring it up. Our second night was similar to the first, except there was no food and there was more booze. And more booze meant more lizards snooping around. Every other guy who approached her brought fresh booze. I was busy most of the evening picking up and throwing away unwanted glasses. One of the more obnoxious guys eventually got to me. I took him aside and calmly told him that if he ever harassed my fiancée again, I would clean his clock. He disappeared for the rest of the evening, like so many other scumbags. I didn't realize I'd become so formidable. After the sit-down, we went out for sushi, but ended up eating $40 worth of sashimi. It was another fun, platonic evening. 2 days later, Harry surprised me while I was rowing. "Why didn't you tell me we were engaged? I was a little embarrassed yesterday when some of my coworkers at work asked me about it." She didn't wait for an answer, but smiled. I called Laura. She said Donna was avoiding her and Linda. Laura only knew that Donna traveled a lot and that people stayed at the house regularly. I asked if her mother had filed for divorce, but she didn't know anything. For weeks now, she and Linda hadn't spoken to each other. For some reason, I was pissed off. The more bottles I emptied, the worse I felt. The next morning, I picked up one of the flat boxes at the post office and mailed 74 valve stems to Glenn Simpson of Gilbert Industries. In the mail, I included a short note. "Thanks for a fun evening." It had been over a year since the party, but I was sure he would remember it. I skipped the gym that day. I didn't feel like working out with a hangover. The next day, I got a 3rd degree from Harry. I promised to explain everything to her the next time we had dinner together. That night, she picked me up at 6. Harry took me to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It was my first time at a place like that. I dressed decently for her. She listened silently and didn't judge me all evening. I got back to my apartment just in time for the start of my work shift. The next day at the gym, Harry asked me another question. Did I know any of the people who were at the cabin that night? When I told her I had the names and addresses of everyone who was there, her eyes lit up. After practice, she went into the apartment and I handed her an envelope with 12 car registration papers. She grabbed them and kissed me on the cheek. There are 15 types of lawyers. Harry was a personal injury lawyer. She tried to explain everything to me,
but all I did was smile and ask how much it would cost me. All I got in response was another kiss on the cheek. 3 days later, I got a call from my daughter, Linda. Donna had called her to see if she knew where I was. There was some kind of problem at Donna's work, and she was in the middle of it. She was not happy and needed to talk to me immediately. Linda refused to tell her anything. I wondered if Glenn had gotten those valve stems. I called Harry and told him I would pick her up in 20 minutes. Her office was in an upscale shopping center. It was beautiful, but not too flashy. Harry had never seen a Challenger. The subject of my owning an automobile had never come up. The sound of the engine preceded my arrival and elicited a few curious looks from her office as she walked out to the car. I walked over to open her door and smiled at all the gawkers. Harry laughed as she got into the car. "Well played, William. Well played." "I suppose you'll want an engagement ring now?" "In due time. Take your time." I kept the Challenger under control until we crossed the Tennessee River. Then I began to open it up little by little. Route 72 leading to Huntsville is a good stretch of road, but not the best place for a demonstration. 2 hours later, we were already sitting in dreamland. "William, all the people who were at the lodge that night have been served today." "What do you mean served?" "It's a lawsuit. The actual term is malicious behavior contributing to the destruction of a marriage." "And such a thing actually exists?" "It appears that all the necessary categories were met. Their behavior was deliberate, extreme, and caused you severe emotional distress." "That's probably why my wife was upset." By then, we each had a slice of dreamland ribs in front of us. The conversation slowed down a bit. Harry had just finished sucking on the last rib when she looked up. "What do you mean your wife is upset?" "My daughter Linda called me today and said Donna needed to talk to me. There's a big problem at work, and she's somehow involved in it. I don't know anything else." Glenn Simpson and Gilbert Industries are being sued for $1 million. The other 11 people are being sued for $100,000 each. "I'm not trying to be a smartass or anything, but do you think this will work?" "Sure. It may not be as easy as it looks, but I think some interesting things could happen." I wanted another long neck, but I couldn't risk it because of the long drive home. Harry, on the other hand, could take the risk and watched her drink her beer with schadenfreude. When we left the restaurant, I was feeling a little horny, so I nonchalantly asked Harry if she wanted to get a room and come back in the morning. "I'd like to, but I can't. We can leave early if you want." "That's not the point. Let's just leave now. I'll explain everything to you on the way home." All was quiet in the car for the first 20 minutes, and then it started to open up. It turns out that 8 years ago, Harry weighed almost 300 pounds. She decided to go on a diet and exercise rather than have bypass surgery. She lost 140 pounds. Unfortunately, she was left with 20 pounds of loose skin. It took 5 surgeries to remove the excess flesh, and she is now left with scars all over her body. Harry is a brave and open-minded woman, but she admitted that she was very self-conscious about her scars. She avoided dating and any contact with male friends. For some reason, she felt comfortable with me, but she didn't know why. I dropped her off at her house, walked her to the door, and kissed her on the cheek. She thanked me for the treat, and as I left, tears came to her eyes. We continued to see each other platonically. It seemed to suit us both. Nickajack Market seemed to be popular with the locals. They had 2 more stores in less than 2 years and were looking for new ones. The owners were serious when they offered me a full-time inventory manager position for all 3 locations. However, they insisted that I become a full-time employee, which meant I had to become fully legal. At that point, it didn't matter anymore, so I agreed. Harry was happy, and I was happy. A few more weeks passed. I didn't hear from my daughters for quite some time, and then I got a short text message on my phone. "Mom got fired." That made things a little more complicated. I now had a full-time job with a decent paycheck, and Donna was no longer working. At this point, I was afraid I would end up on the losing end of the divorce. Then things got even worse. "William, I have some good news for a change." Harry was serious, and I was all ears. 3 of the 11 people we sued have settled." "What does that mean?" Since we only sued for $100,000, the insurance companies advised them to just pay it out and avoid public litigation. It was covered by their insurance, so it wasn't a big personal loss to them. You mean we can get some money out of it? William, I've already received 3 checks. There may be more to come. Do you think it might have something to do with Donna's firing? I'm pretty sure it does. Could it mess up my divorce? Have you filed the papers yet? No, not yet. I was going to ask you to help me with that. A wide smile appeared on Harry's face. William, pack a small bag and get the Challenger ready. We're going to take a trip to see your wife. We'll leave early Thursday morning. Now I was smiling. We left at 6 in the morning and checked into the Sheraton Hotel 10 hours later. Challenger was happy. I called Linda and asked her to invite Donna and Laura to lunch at the Reading Motor Inn the next day. The dinner conversation was a little awkward. Choosing from the Red Lobster menu was fun, and we ended up spending more money than we had bargained for. We didn't care, as it was a celebration of sorts. Our conversation was varied and confusing. Why? We both tried to avoid the elephant in the room. We were spending our first night together. We'd been friends without benefits for over a year. The last thing I wanted to do was make her feel uncomfortable. I won't go into the details of the evening, but I will say that it wasn't as traumatic as we thought it would be. We both laughed a little, but managed the expected results. She seemed relieved that I didn't recoil, and I was happy that it wasn't as bad as she had anticipated. We were a couple of happy fools. In the morning, we had a late breakfast. Donna and the girls were waiting for us at the table when we arrived. I wore one of my new sports jackets with a dark turtleneck. I looked good. Harry was wearing one of her light business suits, sort of casual professional. My wife and daughters looked at me in amazement. Donna, Linda, Laura, this is Harriet Parker, my confidant and attorney. Harriet, my wife Donna and daughters Linda and Laura. It came out awkward, but it was the best I could do. No sooner had we moved on to meaningless chit-chat than the waiter appeared to take the drink order. I'm not hungry. If you don't mind, I'll just have a coffee. Donna was the first to break the silence. I quickly glanced around the table and came to the same conclusion. Why don't you just bring us 5 cups of coffee and leave the kettle on the table? The waiter nodded and everyone seemed relieved at the decision. It's good to see you again, Bill. Would you like to tell us about what you've been up to the last few years? Donna smirked slightly as she said it. Just working and giving you the freedom to find yourself or what you've been doing. Harry kicked me lightly under the table. I needed you and you left me. Maybe you needed someone, but not me. Mom! Dad! That's enough! I'm sure you didn't set up this meeting to sit around and snap at each other. Dad! What are we here for? Linda was being very assertive. I realized that this was going to be a very short meeting. I was at a loss. I looked back at Harry for any hint on how to proceed. She ignored me but took the conversation into her own hands. Harry rummaged through her purse and pulled out an envelope. She held it out across the table to Donna. Mrs. Smith, this is a petition for divorce. I think you will find it very fair. I suggest you take it to your attorney to have him review it. Laura and Linda looked at each other in surprise. It was obvious they hadn't expected this. Donna, however, smiled broadly. She didn't take the envelope from Harry, but reached under the table and pulled one out of her purse. You stupid asshole. I divorced your weak ass 8 months ago for desertion. You never got a copy because I didn't know where to send it. It's final. Everything you have here is worthless. You don't have anything I need. Her smile turned into a wide grin. The waiter returned with our coffee and a full urn on the table just as Donna was getting up. She smiled at Harry and I and threw the girls a strange look before walking away. She left both envelopes on the table. Dad, can we stay for lunch? I hear they have really good quiche here, said Laura. Harry and I laughed a little and asked the waiter to bring the menu. Harry, Laura, and Linda had a great lunch and talked. I felt like I was eating alone. I never understood women too well. The girls exchanged phone numbers and promised to keep in touch. Back in my room, I started packing. William, I thought we were staying another night. We will, but not here. Hurry up and pack. An hour and 30 minutes after that, we were in Elkton, Maryland. 30 minutes later, Harriet Parker became Harry Smith. We spent the night in Luray, Virginia. I wanted to drive farther, but we didn't have time. We bought a house with a 3-car garage. That's another story. The girls said Donna had a fit when she found out I got $2 million from Gilbert Industries. Donna moved to Iowa. I don't know why.